Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins Collections. If you're passionate about finding hidden treasures in your coin collection, then you're in for a real treat today. We're diving into a coin that may just surprise you with its value, the 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny. You might think, it's just a penny, right? But let me tell you, this seemingly ordinary coin could be worth far more than you think. Stick around until the end of the video to find out how much this 1957 penny could actually be worth. You'll be shocked. The Lincoln Wheat penny, as many of you know, has a rich history that dates all the way back to 1909. Introduced to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this iconic coin features Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse. This design was symbolic of the nation's agricultural roots, reflecting the strength and pride of the American people during that time. Now, let's fast forward to 1957. By this point, the Lincoln Wheat penny had become a staple in American currency, and the design was well recognized across the nation. The 1950s were a time of post-war recovery, economic growth, and cultural change. But what does this mean for the 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny? Well, let's just say that by the time this penny was minted, it was no longer considered a novelty, but instead, a very familiar and widely circulated piece of currency. But here's the twist: despite the fact that the 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny was produced in massive numbers, there are specific versions of this coin that can be worth an extraordinary amount of money. And to understand why, we need to explore a few key factors that determine the value of this penny. First and foremost, the condition of the coin plays a massive role in determining its value. Like many coins that have been in circulation for years, the 1957 penny likely has signs of wear and tear. You'll find many of these pennies in worn, tarnished, or damaged condition, especially considering how long they've been circulating. But here's the kicker: coins in exceptional condition can be worth much more than you'd expect. You see, collectors are always on the lookout for coins that are well preserved and in uncirculated condition. A coin that looks as though it just came fresh from the mint is considered far more valuable than one that has been handled and circulated over the years. When you find a 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny that is in pristine condition, shiny surfaces, sharp details, and virtually no wear, this coin can fetch a much higher price. Now, let's talk about the mint marks. In 1957, pennies were struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The mint mark, which can be found just below the date on the obverse of the coin, indicates where it was produced. If the penny was struck in Philadelphia, it won't have any mint mark. If it was struck in Denver, it will have a D, and if it was struck in San Francisco, it will carry an S. Generally speaking, the 1957 D and 1957 S Lincoln Wheat pennies are more sought after by collectors due to their relative rarity compared to those minted in Philadelphia, but it doesn't stop there. Within these coins, there can also be subtle differences in the design, and one of the key things collectors are always on the lookout for are those rare minting errors. Imagine the excitement of discovering that your 1957 penny has an error, like a double die or an off-center strike. A double die error occurs when the coin is struck more than once, causing the image to appear doubled. These types of errors are quite rare and highly valued by collectors who specialize in error coins. If you happen to find a 1957 penny with a minting error, it could be worth exponentially more than a regular 1957 penny in perfect condition. Another important factor to consider is the overall rarity of the 1957 penny in excellent condition. Although millions of these pennies were produced in 1957, a large percentage of them have been lost or damaged over time. Coins that have survived in near-perfect condition are quite rare and, as a result, are more valuable to collectors. In the world of numismatics, condition is everything, and finding a 1957 penny that is in mint state could make it worth a small fortune. So, let's get to the part you've been waiting for: the value of the 1957 Lincoln Wheat penny. The value of most circulated 1957 pennies will only be a few cents. In fact, a typical 1957 penny in average condition might only be worth about 2 to 5 cents, depending on its mint mark and wear. But when you find a 1957 penny in pristine, uncirculated condition, that's when things start to get really exciting. A 1957 penny in MS 65 or higher grade can be worth hundreds of dollars, and if it's an error coin, then the value could shoot up even higher. For instance, a 1957 penny with a double die error can fetch thousands of dollars at auction. But the real jaw-dropping number comes when you consider a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny that is in exceptional condition and has that rare minting error. If you have such a coin in your collection, it could be worth a staggering $40,000, that's right, $40,000 for a single 1957 penny. Imagine finding that tucked away in your old coin collection or stumbling across it in your pocket change. It's hard to believe that something as humble as a penny could be worth so much, but in the world of coin collecting, it happens more often than you might think. So, if you've got any old coins lying around, particularly 1957 Lincoln wheat pennies, now's the time to check them out carefully. Look for mint marks, check the condition, and see if you can spot any potential errors or unique features. You might just have a coin that's worth a lot more than you originally thought, and that's a wrap for today's video. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into one of the most fascinating pennies ever minted in the United States, the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny. You might be thinking, it's just a penny from the 1950s, how valuable could it really be? Well, prepare to be surprised, because this coin has a history and value that's far greater than you might expect. Let's start by taking a trip back in time to 1953. The United States was in the midst of the post-World War II economic boom, and the nation was adjusting to life in the 1950s. This was an era of growth, technological advances, and the rise of suburban America. The 1953 Lincoln wheat penny, which was minted during this time, became a common part of everyday life. It was used in countless transactions, from buying a loaf of bread to purchasing a movie ticket. But here's the thing, while these pennies were mass-produced, certain versions of the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny are now considered valuable collector's items. Before we get into the specifics of why the 1953 penny can be worth so much, let's take a moment to understand the significance of the Lincoln wheat penny itself. This coin was first introduced in 1909, designed by the famous artist Victor David Brenner. It features a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and on the reverse, we see 2 ears of wheat, a design that symbolized the agricultural strength of the United States. This penny became a beloved part of American currency, and it remained in circulation for decades before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. So why is the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny special? Well, like any valuable coin, it all comes down to a few important factors: rarity, condition, and special features. Let's start with rarity. The U.S. Mint produced millions of 1953 pennies, so many, in fact, that most of them ended up being circulated and worn down through years of handling. But here's where the value comes in: coins that have survived in excellent condition are incredibly rare, and those are the ones collectors are looking for. The value of a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny in mint condition or uncirculated condition can be much higher than you might imagine. A penny that's barely seen anywhere, with its original shine and detail intact, is a true gem. These coins are much more desirable because they've survived the passage of time without being damaged, scratched, or discolored. In fact, a well-preserved 1953 Lincoln wheat penny can be worth hundreds of dollars on the open market, depending on the coin's grade. Now, let's talk about the different mint marks. In 1953, pennies were struck at 3 different U.S. mint locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If the penny was minted in Philadelphia, it won't have a mint mark, while Denver pennies will feature a D, and San Francisco pennies will carry an S mint mark. Generally speaking, coins that were struck in San Francisco are the rarest of the bunch, making them the most valuable. So, if you happen to come across a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny with an S mint mark, then you're looking at something special. But what makes the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny even more intriguing is the possibility of finding a rare minting error. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process, creating a coin that's different from the usual issue. These errors can make a coin much more valuable than the regular version. Some of the most common errors include double dies, off-center strikes, or even coins with mismatched designs. If you have a 1953 penny with one of these rare errors, it could be worth significantly more than the standard version. Speaking of double die errors, let's dive into one of the most exciting variations of the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny. A double die error happens when a coin is struck more than once, causing the design to appear doubled or blurry. The most famous type of double die error is the Class 3 variety, where Lincoln's features, especially his eye and eyebrow, appear doubled. This error is relatively rare, and if you find one, it could make your 1953 penny worth thousands of dollars. And we can't forget about the overall desirability of the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny among collectors. While the coin itself might seem ordinary at first glance, its historical significance and status as part of the Lincoln wheat series make it a sought-after piece of American numismatic history. The 1953 penny, with its strong connection to the post-war era and its place in the long-running Lincoln wheat series, is often highly regarded by those who collect American coins. So, now that you know a little more about the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny and why it's so valuable, let's get down to the exciting part, the value of this coin. While most 1953 pennies are relatively common and worth only a few cents, a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny in excellent, uncirculated condition can command a much higher price. If the coin has the coveted S mint mark or is a rare error coin, it could be worth significantly more. In fact, a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny in excellent condition with no wear could be worth several $100s to a collector. But here's the real kicker: if you happen to have one of those rare 1953 pennies in exceptional condition, or if it's a double die error coin, then you could be looking at a coin that's worth an incredible $40,000. Yes, you heard that right, $40,000 for a single 1953 penny. That's the kind of value a well-preserved 1953 Lincoln wheat penny can bring. So, if you have one of these coins in your collection, or if you find one while searching through your change, make sure to inspect it closely. You might just have a rare treasure on your hands that could make you a small fortune, and there you have it, folks. The incredible story of the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that may seem like just another piece of currency but could actually hold significant value. So, next time you're out hunting for rare coins, keep your eyes peeled for this gem. You never know, your next find could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Today's video is exactly what you need. We're diving into a very special coin, the 1974 Lincoln penny. Now, this may sound like a simple, everyday penny, but trust me, it could actually be a hidden treasure worth thousands of dollars. Intrigued? Stick around until the end to discover just how much this little coin could be worth. First off, let's talk about the 1974 Lincoln penny's history. When you think about the 1970s, a lot of exciting things come to mind: the rise of disco, major technological advances, and big changes in American society. But there's one thing you might not know: during this time, the U.S. Mint was busy churning out millions of Lincoln pennies, and the 1974 edition was no exception. This penny was minted in massive quantities, and at the time, it was a standard piece of currency used in everyday transactions across the country. But here's where things start to get interesting. The 1974 Lincoln penny, while it might seem like just another ordinary coin at first glance, actually has the potential to be worth far more than you'd expect. Most of the 1974 pennies you'll find are worn down from decades of circulation, but some rare and pristine examples have managed to survive in incredible condition. And when a coin is in great condition, its value increases exponentially in the eyes of collectors. Now, the condition of a coin is a key factor in determining its value. A coin's grade, which is determined by how well preserved it is, plays a huge role in its price. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. Most 1974 pennies you'll encounter will show signs of wear and tear from being in circulation for decades. These are typically worth only face value, or a little more if they're in decent condition. However, finding a 1974 Lincoln penny in pristine, uncirculated condition is where the magic happens. For example, a 1974 penny that's still shining with all of its details crisp and clear is considered uncirculated and can be worth significantly more. You might be asking, how do I know if my 1974 penny is uncirculated? Well, look for any signs of wear or damage. If the penny still looks like it just came from the mint, no scratches, no discoloration, and the details sharp as a tack, then you've likely found a coin that's much more valuable than you might have thought. But there's another reason why the 1974 Lincoln penny is so special: the potential for minting errors. Minting errors are a collector's dream, and they can turn an ordinary penny into a true treasure. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the manufacturing process, creating coins with unique and often very rare characteristics. These errors make certain coins far more valuable than others, and the 1974 penny is no exception. One of the most sought-after errors in the 1974 Lincoln penny series is the double die error. This happens when the coin is struck twice during the minting process, causing the design to appear doubled. You can often spot a double die error by examining the letters and numbers on the coin closely. If you notice any doubling, especially on the date or the inscriptions like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust," then congratulations, you've got yourself an error coin. These errors are highly prized by collectors and can increase the value of your penny significantly. Another potential error to look out for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, causing part of the design to be cut off. These coins are incredibly rare and are often worth a premium compared to a regular penny. If you're lucky enough to find a 1974 Lincoln penny with an off-center strike, you could have a valuable error coin on your hands. Let's not forget about the mint mark either. In 1974, the U.S. Mint produced pennies at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your penny was minted in Philadelphia, it won't have any mint mark. A D mint mark indicates the coin was produced in Denver, while an S mint mark shows it was made in San Francisco. The Denver and San Francisco minted coins tend to be slightly rarer than their Philadelphia counterparts, so if you find a 1974 penny with a D or S mint mark, it could be worth more to collectors than a regular Philadelphia minted penny. So, we've covered the basics: condition, errors, and mint marks, but what about the overall rarity of the 1974 Lincoln penny? You might think that with millions of these coins minted, they would be common and not worth much. But in the world of coin collecting, even coins that were produced in large quantities can become valuable over time if they're in excellent condition or have rare characteristics. Coins that have been kept in mint condition or have unique features are what collectors are really after. Now, let's get to the exciting part: how much is your 1974 Lincoln penny actually worth? Most 1974 pennies you'll find are still worth just 1 cent, especially if they've been circulated and show signs of wear. However, a well-preserved, uncirculated 1974 Lincoln penny can fetch a much higher price. If you happen to find one of these pennies in excellent condition, it could be worth hundreds of dollars. But if you're lucky enough to find one with a rare minting error like a double die or an off-center strike, the value can skyrocket. And here's the most surprising part: if you have a 1974 Lincoln penny that's in exceptional condition or has a rare error, it could be worth an incredible $35,000. Yes, you heard that right, $35,000. That's the kind of value some of these 1974 pennies can reach, especially if they're in uncirculated condition or have a sought-after error. So, next time you're going through your coin collection or digging through your spare change, take a closer look at those 1974 pennies. You might just have a small fortune waiting to be discovered. That's it for today's video. I hope you found this information as exciting as I did. If you enjoyed learning about the potential value of the 1974 Lincoln penny, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on more valuable coin tips and discoveries. Today, we're diving into a fascinating piece of U.S. coinage, the 1975 Lincoln penny. You might think a penny from the 1970s is just another penny, but I promise you, there's more to it than meets the eye. Stick around until the end, because you'll be amazed at how much this little coin could be worth. Let's start by taking a trip back to 1975. This was a pivotal year in American history. The nation was adjusting to the post-Vietnam War era, and there were significant shifts in the economy and culture. The 1970s marked the tail end of the turbulent 60s and early 70s, with new innovations in technology, the rise of popular music, and of course, the iconic coinage of everyday life. This includes the 1975 Lincoln penny, which was produced in large numbers by the U.S. Mint. At the time, it was simply another coin that circulated in everyday transactions. It was a crucial part of the economy but, as with many mass-produced items, it wasn't considered particularly special. Or was it? When you think about coins from the past, especially something as ubiquitous as the Lincoln penny, it's easy to assume that most of them have little value today, but that's not always the case. While the 1975 Lincoln penny was minted in enormous quantities, a small portion of these pennies have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. And believe it or not, those coins can be worth much more than you might expect. So, why is the 1975 Lincoln penny so special? The first thing to understand is that the 1975 penny, like many coins, comes with its own little quirks. The design, for instance, was the same as all the Lincoln wheat pennies before it, showing the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 ears of wheat on the reverse. But despite the common appearance, there's something about these pennies that's captured the attention of collectors. One major factor that makes the 1975 penny interesting to collectors is its relative rarity in mint condition. Most of the 1975 pennies, like many coins from the 1970s, were in circulation for decades, traveling from pocket to pocket, being tossed around, and showing signs of wear and tear. Because of this, finding a 1975 penny in pristine, uncirculated condition is much rarer than you might think, but it's not just about being uncirculated. Minting errors are another reason why some 1975 Lincoln pennies are incredibly valuable. These errors occur during the minting process and can cause a coin to have a variety of unique features that make it stand out. These types of errors are highly coveted by collectors, who are always on the lookout for coins with mistakes that can significantly increase their value. For example, one of the most famous types of errors you might find on a 1975 penny is the double die error. This occurs when the coin is struck more than once, causing the design to appear doubled. The result is a coin with slightly overlapping or blurred details. The most common double die errors on the 1975 penny are found in the inscription, where you can see the date, 1975, or the words, Liberty and, In God We Trust, with a doubled appearance. These double die coins are highly sought after by collectors and can be worth much more than their face value. Another error to watch out for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is misaligned during the minting process, causing part of the coin's design to be cut off. These coins are rare and unique because they have a distinctive, imperfect look that collectors find fascinating. If you come across a 1975 Lincoln penny with an off-center strike, you might be holding a small fortune, but even beyond minting errors, the 1975 Lincoln penny can be valuable if it's in exceptional condition. Coins that have been well preserved and show little to no signs of wear are always in high demand. If you find a 1975 penny that looks almost as if it just came out of the mint, then you've got something that collectors will be eager to add to their collection. Now, let's talk about the mint marks. In 1975, pennies were struck at 3 U.S. mint locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. A coin minted in Philadelphia typically doesn't have a mint mark, while a coin minted in Denver will have a D mint mark, and a coin minted in San Francisco will have an S mint mark. While the 1975 penny is often found without a mint mark, the ones with D or S mint marks are slightly rarer and more desirable to collectors. If you happen to find a 1975 penny with an S mint mark, for instance, it could be worth more than the standard issue. So, what about the value of the 1975 Lincoln penny? Most pennies from this year, unless they have a minting error or are in near-perfect condition, are worth just a few cents, if they're circulated and worn down. But when it comes to uncirculated examples, the price can go up significantly, depending on the condition and the rarity of the coin. If you happen to find a 1975 penny in incredible condition or with a rare error, you might be able to sell it to collectors for a much higher price than you ever expected, and here's where things get really interesting. If you found a 1975 Lincoln penny in pristine condition, or perhaps one with an exceptional minting error, you could be looking at a value as high as $36,000, yes, you heard that right, $36,000. That's the kind of value a rare, well-preserved 1975 penny with unique characteristics can fetch on the market. So, the next time you're sifting through your spare change or searching your coin collection, keep an eye out for that 1975 Lincoln penny. You never know, you might have a coin worth thousands of dollars just waiting to be discovered. Today, we're diving into something truly fascinating, the 1971 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it might look like just another penny, but trust me, this little coin could actually hold a big surprise. Stick with me until the end to find out how much this 1971 Lincoln penny could be worth. You won't want to miss it. Let's start with a little history lesson about the 1971 Lincoln penny. This coin was produced during an interesting time in American history. The 1970s were a transformative decade in the U.S. The country was adjusting to a post-Vietnam world, economic shifts were happening all around, and pop culture was evolving with the rise of new music, fashion, and technology. The U.S. Mint, in particular, was churning out a massive amount of coins during this time, and the 1971 Lincoln penny was one of them. These pennies were part of the larger push to keep currency flowing and circulating across the country. But while it was an everyday coin used in thousands of transactions, not many people at the time thought it would become a collector's item in the future. Fast forward to today, and it's clear that this little penny is more than just pocket change. Now, why does the 1971 Lincoln penny stand out from the rest? Most pennies from this era were produced in large quantities, which might make you think they're common and not worth much. While it's true that the majority of 1971 pennies are easy to find, there's something about this coin that makes it special: its rarity in exceptional condition and the potential for unique minting errors. Coins that have been preserved in uncirculated, near-perfect condition are always in high demand among collectors, and this is where the 1971 Lincoln penny comes into play. But let's be real for a moment, most of us aren't lucky enough to find a coin that stayed in perfect condition for over 50 years, right? After all, these pennies were used in everyday transactions, passing through countless hands, getting banged around in pockets, and showing signs of wear and tear. But if you're one of the lucky few who has a 1971 penny that looks as fresh as it did the day it was minted, you could have something valuable on your hands. The higher the quality of a coin, the more valuable it becomes. Coins that have sharp details, no scratches, and no discoloration are considered to be in uncirculated condition and are worth far more than their face value. The 1971 penny, when found in near-perfect condition, can be worth hundreds of dollars to collectors who are looking for pristine examples to add to their collections, but it's not just the condition of the coin that could increase its value. You see, one of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting is discovering rare minting errors. These errors happen when the U.S. Mint makes a mistake during the production process, and that mistake can make the coin more unique and valuable. A 1971 penny with a minting error can be worth far more than a regular coin because it's considered a rare find. Let's talk about some of these errors. One of the most sought-after errors is the double die error. This occurs when the coin is struck twice, causing the design to appear slightly doubled. You can usually spot this error by looking closely at the date or the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." If you see any signs of doubling, then you could be holding a rare and valuable penny. The more pronounced the doubling, the more valuable the coin becomes. Another potential error on the 1971 Lincoln penny is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is misaligned during the minting process, causing part of the design to be cut off. An off-center strike is a unique and eye-catching feature that makes a coin stand out, and collectors are always on the lookout for these types of errors. If you find a 1971 penny with an off-center strike, you could have a very valuable coin on your hands, and let's not forget about the mint mark. In 1971, the U.S. Mint produced pennies in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins minted in Philadelphia do not have a mint mark, while coins minted in Denver have a D mint mark, and coins minted in San Francisco have an S mint mark. While most 1971 Lincoln pennies you find will have no mint mark at all, those with a D or S mint mark are slightly rarer and can be more valuable to collectors. So now that we've covered the condition, minting errors, and mint marks, let's talk about the value of the 1971 Lincoln penny. Most of the 1971 pennies you'll find are going to be worth only 1 cent, or maybe a little more if they're in decent condition. However, if you happen to find one that's in uncirculated, near-perfect condition, or even one that has a rare minting error, then the value starts to go up significantly. Now, here's the moment you've all been waiting for, the value of this coin. You might be shocked, but it's true. A well-preserved 1971 Lincoln penny with the right features, such as being uncirculated or having a rare minting error, could be worth as much as $38,000. Yes, you heard that right, $38,000. It's hard to believe that a simple penny could be worth so much, but in the world of coin collecting, even a coin that was produced in large quantities can become incredibly valuable over time, especially if it's in great condition or has something unique about it. So, the next time you find yourself going through your spare change, take a closer look at those 1971 pennies. It might just be worth a small fortune. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1971 Lincoln penny. If you found this video helpful or exciting, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future coin discoveries. And as always, happy hunting, and good luck finding those rare coins.